Thank you all for joining us for our summertime Wednesday afternoon live broadcast. Last week we talked about our schedule. We will be broadcasting throughout the months of the summer. And today we are talking about the topic of Harry Potter. Okay, last week we talked about Wonder Woman, one of my favorite films of 2017. Today, the topic is very close to my heart. I really love this series. I really love this universe. And there are many people who do. And I will try to explore a little bit about the reasons for this. We have some images to show you to remind you of the many elements that are in the universe that J.K. Rowling created actually 20 years ago. In June, I believe it's June 25th. So this is the perfect time to be thinking about and talking about Harry Potter. I consider myself Harry Potter generation. What that means is we grow up. I feel like I grew up with Harry Potter. As you all know, if you watched the series or if you have read the novels, Harry is 11 years old in the book, the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or as it was originally titled, the Philosopher's Stone. And so this was in, like I said, 1997, right, 20 years ago. And I was 9 years old at the time. Okay, I was 9 in 1997. And so by the time that the last book came out, I believe I was 17 or 18. I forget the details now. But Harry ends the story, it takes part when he's 17, and then there's an epilogue 19 years later. And so that's why I consider myself Harry Potter generation, is that you grow up through the same kind of, you sort of feel like you're the same age that Harry is in the novel. So that's a very good feeling. One of the things that I want to do today is to talk a little bit about why it's so wonderful reading a novel in its original language. A lot of people, they read Harry Potter in Chinese. The translation is very good. There are a lot of people who appreciate the translation, and I think it's translated very well. But I've always been fortunate enough to have read the original novels. When I first started, when it was before the Chinese versions were published, I received a copy of The Philosopher's Stone. And so I've always felt that it's very British, it's very English, and it's been a part of my life through many difficult times, many happy times as well. And as good novels should. Good novels should stay with you. You should reread them as you grow up. And you should feel and think about some different things as time goes on. And as you all know, 20 years later to today, Harry Potter is still a phenomenon, right? There are still, the books are still very much in print. People still read them very often. The films are still watched very often. It remains one of the biggest franchises in terms of publishing, in terms of the film industry, the entertainment industry. There are theme parks that you can visit. I have yet to visit one, but I would love to visit the Universal Studios, I understand. In Japan, I think there's a Harry Potter world in Japan. What I visited was in London, the Leavesden Studios, where they made films. And something that I feel very strongly about is that these stories really are universal. There's a reason why so many people love them all over the world, why they remain very popular even now. So I hope that through my introduction today, you can be motivated to watch the films again, maybe in English, that would be very nice, or to read the novels again, maybe, and try to do it in English. It's a really interesting experience. One of the things that I felt is quite funny is when they shout the incantations. Okay, when you read the translation and they shout it like in Chinese characters, I find that's a little bit different from reading the way they normally shout Latin. Yeah, so that's it's a difference. For anything else, you can do that. Okay, so I'd like to introduce the universe to you as I know it, so that you all can sort of understand what the story is about. And last week we talked about the film Wonder Woman, and we talked about the few questions that you should know and you should think about when you're watching a film, and things you can do when you're talking about a film, whether you understand it, how you feel, what this work represents in terms of society, what does it tell us about art, about the world, about humans, etc. Okay, so Harry Potter is a 7-part project. The original series is in 7 parts. Now, why is it in 7 parts? Well, because for a few reasons. J.K. Rowling designed it originally as in 7 parts. And there are many repeated themes here. There are many things that are 7. For instance, the students of Hogwarts, they have to be in Hogwarts for 7 years. So 1 for every year, right, for in Harry's education. 7 is also considered quite a perfect number, a magical number in Western culture. Yeah, if you go to the Bible or if you go to different forms of literature, you will find that the number 7 is often a little bit mysterious and a little bit interesting. For instance, we have 007, right? There's a mysterious feeling toward it. In the Bible, we have 7 deadly sins. The Catholic Church has 7 things that the Church, 7 sacraments, yeah. So the Harry Potter series is divided into 7 books, and the story centers around, of course, the character of Harry. So the first thing that we know about Harry Potter is that he is an orphan. Okay, so his parents are murdered by the ultimate villain, Lord Voldemort, more commonly referred to as you-know-who. Right? People refer to him as you-know-who. And that's how parents are now often referred to by their children, how bosses are now referred to by their employees, you-know-who. That was a joke. Okay. So students, if you're watching, is there anyone watching? There are people watching? There are 2 people watching, okay, 2 students. I'm glad that you are watching. I will introduce the novels now one by one to you all, and so hopefully it'll refresh everyone's memory. But also, please tell me which is your favorite novel. What is your favorite Harry Potter novel? And I'll tell you my own opinion as we go along. So today there will be a lot of talking and a lot of opinions, personal opinions, but hopefully it'll be fun. Okay, so the first novel is called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The American publishers thought that the Philosopher's Stone would not be interesting enough, so they used the Sorcerer's Stone. But in Chinese, it's still translated as 神奇的魔法石, so it avoids this issue. We're introduced to the character of Harry. Like I said, he is an orphan who is sent to live with his terrible uncle and aunt and cousin, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley, and his cousin Dudley. So, as their names suggest, they're not very pleasant people. And Harry, on his 11th birthday, finds out that he is a wizard. Isn't that cool? So after some strange things, he finds out that he is a wizard. And then he enters into this magical world of wizardry that is just hidden outside of the world of non-magical people, we call muggles. Yeah, in Chinese, it was ma gua. And so immediately there's something very enchanting about this, that this is a world that we can all recognize. This is a world that we all know and understand. But immediately there's something interesting, something magical, something kind of medieval, old tradition in this story setup. So there's something very historical. There's a historical feel, but very modern to it. And so you see here in this portrait, we can see some important characters. Harry is in the middle. In the upper right-hand corner is Harry's pet owl, Hedwig. There's Hagrid, who is the gameskeeper at Hogwarts. Professor Albus Dumbledore, okay, so the wizard figure who was the ultimate figure of wisdom and guides Harry throughout the series. Okay, Harry's two friends, Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley. Ronald Weasley. Hermione is a Muggle-born, genius girl. They often say that she's factored on rolling herself when she was younger. Okay, not very beautiful, but very, very bookish, very nerdy, very, very smart. And Ron is, of course, Harry's best friend. Comes from a long line of Weasleys, big family, which treats Harry almost like their son. And probably the two most important professors at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Okay, Professor McGonagall, who teaches Transfiguration. She's also head of Gryffindor House, so she is in charge of Harry, and Severus Snape, the potions master. And so the first novel introduces us into this world. We see Diagon Alley, where Harry knows that visits Gringotts Bank and all sorts of interesting things to see and buy. We see the Hogwarts Express here, and he goes to school. And this is also a very, very fun part of the novel, which is there are no parents. Okay, so you throw in all kinds of kids together with just a few professors, but they have to sort of navigate this world. It's very fun, this tradition of the British boarding school. And they have both girls and boys, and they get together in this magical castle to learn about magic. And we see the world, we see this magical world through the eyes of Harry, who is raised not knowing that he has magical powers, that he is a wizard. And ultimately, they have to face a big challenge and confront the villain, Voldemort, Lord Voldemort, again. And Harry learns that love is a very powerful force in the world, and that is the love that he was given by his mother before she died is powerful protection from other forms of evil magic. But the novel starts, this one, Philosopher's Stone, builds together, puts us in a world of magic. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people love this series, is that there's a lot of magic. We talked about last week, we talked about how a lot of people like superhero films because they are some kind of ideal that we aspire to. But they still have very human problems, right? You can't solve human problems with magic or with supernatural powers. And it's the same thing in Harry Potter. Harry has to struggle with being popular. He has to play school sports. He has to struggle with people bullying him. He also has to struggle with schoolwork. Magic cannot solve human problems. And human qualities are ultimately what prove to be most magical. And so that's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's the thinnest of the 7-part series, but it introduces us into this magical world, and already there's a lot of adventure. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So I hope that it gives you that this introduction will remind you all of what the novels are, and also it will encourage you. Okay, that's the whole point of our broadcast, is to encourage you to go back and read the novels again. Okay, so the Chamber of Secrets is year 2 in Hogwarts, and there is a new character, probably the most important new character in that is introduced in this novel is in the lower left-hand corner. This is not Gollum from the Lord of the Rings. This is a character named Dobby, who is a house elf. And he's a strange character when we first meet him. He tries in many ways to prevent Harry from going back to Hogwarts. It's a more dark story, it's a darker story, the Chamber of Secrets, because students repeatedly get immobilized. Okay? So accidents happen to these characters in the novel, little by little. And there's a mystery here that Harry and Ron and Hermione, they have to solve. And of course we have very exciting stories. They play Quidditch, we know this. They also have to continue taking more difficult courses. There are some very interesting incidents in the second novel, particularly one that involves an army of spiders. That is a very disturbing scene for a lot of people who fear spiders. There's also a very scary scene with a huge snake, so I won't give too much away. But the Chamber of Secrets emphasizes loyalty. It also emphasizes the power of good-heartedness, of kindness, and it reconfirms our idea of Hogwarts. So this is a very successful installment before the story turns again. Okay, so this is year 2 when Harry is supposedly 12 years old, and it ends, of course. I won't give all of it away, but things turn out okay for Dobby here in the second novel. Now, something that I want to mention before we move on to book 3, something that I want to mention about reading English novels. So how do you read an English novel? Do you pick it up and then you read from the first word to the last word? What happens